Hello, welcome to the second episode of the Lions Roar podcast here on YouTube Live. I'm Chris Bell, alongside me for tonight's show are Tom Feeney and Dave Robertson. Guys, thanks for joining me.
Hello.
Hello, no worries.
Yeah, all good. How are you two doing?
Yeah, we're all good. Well, I'm all good. I don't know about Tom. I don't speak for Tom. But yeah, very much looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, a little bit nervous, I'm not going to lie, but 525 days since our last game with fans in a competitive match at Nethermoor. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? And here we are now on Football Eve. National League North starts tomorrow. AFC Fylde at home, a big game. I will just say a little bit, very shortly, in fact, we'll be joined by Glen Preston, one of the first team coaches at the football club. And then a little bit later on, we'll also be joined by the departing physio, Ash Proctor, just to reflect on his time at the club, really, and get his thoughts on his time at the club and his favourite memories as well. Let's just start, though, from the fans' perspective, Dave and Tom. How excited are we that football, proper football, is back tomorrow with fans?
Well, I think it's brilliant. Obviously, it's brilliant. And it's been brilliant to have fans back for the friendlies. But friendlies are a funny sort of animal. They're never quite the real thing. So I'm looking forward to all the stuff. I can't believe 525 days, did you say, Tom? That's just unreal as to how long it's been. And there'll all be the sort of familiar sights and the sounds of a league game around Nethermoor, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I've missed it a great deal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a weird one. I think for me, it's properly going to hit when we hear calf. About 20 minutes before kick-off, joining in with the Guiseley chant. And I think when that happens, we will know that football at Nethermoor, competitive football at Nethermoor with fans, is finally back. And hopefully we won't have a delay of any kind of length like that again, because it has been just such a surreal 500 plus days since then.
It's been horrible, and yeah, you're right. As soon as we hear Kath berating a referee, regardless of whether he's done anything wrong or not, then we'll know we're home.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget as well, if you're watching this live on the YouTube channel, you can get in touch with your comments and your chat on the YouTube chat box as well. Guiseley fans YouTuber says he can't wait himself. Come on, Guiseley. Caden, evening, guys. Thanks for joining us, Caden. Do let us know your thoughts on tomorrow's game, how you expect it to go. Let's be honest, though, lads, it is not an easy one. In fact, it's one of probably the most difficult games we could have had on paper. A title favourite up there in AFC Fylde.
But football games aren't won on paper, are they, Chris?
They are not.
What on a football pitch? I don't know. I mean, I really genuinely don't know at this point. I know I've seen the sort of someone shared the betting odds on the forum the other days, and I'm sure Fylde will be up there. They've got the budget, they've got the setup to be there or thereabouts come the end of the season, and I'm sure that's what they'll be aiming for. But I mean, who knows? This season, it's been such a disrupted last couple of years. Really, who knows? Who knows? If the Lions can hit the ground running and crucially keep running, we've had a few seasons where we've started in like 2-3 game winning streaks. I mean, I remember the season that didn't quite finish. We were top of the league after 2 games.
Yeah.
8 goals, not conceded, and we were definitely going to win the league, weren't we, lad?
Yeah.
It didn't quite work out that way, but who knows? You hit the ground running, you get a good run of form going. Who can say? Who can say? And it'll be a good test. It'll definitely be a good test, won't it?
Tom, you obviously know this league like the back of your hand and all the other clubs in it, to be fair. Fylde, one of those full-time clubs with big ambitions.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, it's that thing of, do you want to face one of the favourites early doors? Obviously, you look at their squad and some of the players they've got. I mean, they've got the best midfield in the league. They've got a striker in Stephen Dobby who he's been there and done it. He's played in the Premier League. He's got so much experience. But again, there is always a shock on the opening day, and for me, I think Fylde will definitely be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. They'll definitely be in the top 7 places if they're not. If they're not champions, to me, it's going to be between them, York City, and Boston United. And do we want to face someone early doors? Get that confidence. If we can get a credible point tomorrow or a win, that would build a lot of momentum. Then going into the next couple of games, so it's a really good test for us. And I think we're feeling good going. Pre-season, we've had a lot of tough games, but I think we've learnt a lot from them games. And signing Andrew Hollins today, I think that gives us a big boost because he's done a great job at centre back so far.
Yeah, very much so. One or two other people on the comments joining in. I think Sam here, AFC Fylde title contenders, Guiseley fans YouTube. Think it'll be tough. However, this one of the strongest sides we've had in a long time. I kind of agree there. I think we've got a really good squad. That's our view. Let's get the coach.
We've got a pretty good record, Chris. We've got a pretty good record against Fylde actually in the league.
Yeah,
we won the last time, and that was in 2018 in the season none of us like to remember.
Yeah, that was under St. Ledger.
Exactly. So, and even that season, I think we drew away at Fylde. Was it that season or the season before?
Lost because Danny Rowe scored like a 40-yard free kick out of nowhere.
Oh, we should have drawn anyway. Well,
yeah.
My point is, they don't. Oh, this will put the mockers on it. I'm not even going to say it.
No, don't say it, Dave.
I was going to say it's already Friday the 13th. We don't get turned over by a great deal. By them a great deal.
Well, now you've done it. To quickly move from that jinxing, I'm going to start so we can bring in Glen Preston, who is. Well, I mean, Glenn, you've got many roles at Guiseley Football Club, but I think now it's first team coach, analyst, everything. Thanks for joining us, though, Glenn.
Thanks for having me. Jack of all trades, on a master of none. Thanks for having us on the show.
No worries, mate. So as we say, you've just heard like our thoughts tomorrow. From a fan's perspective, is a bit of a daunting prospect. From your perspective and working with the management team, where are they at? How are they thinking about it?
Well, I think we've done our preparation for this game a little bit more in depth and friendlies. So we've obviously had optimized all the different aspects of their play. I think when you've got that the detail and the coaching staff that we've got, and the fact that I think we're capable of raising ourselves for the big game, I'm quietly confident, actually, to be fair. It reminds me of sort of 2 years ago played Kings Lynn, that kind of feeling about the game. Someone mentioned in the chat that it's one of the strongest squads. I think it's a similar that side that we had that year. So personally, I'm quietly confident that we can get a result and a really good performance.
I mean, it's certainly a good attitude to know that is what's in camp. Tom, your thoughts and your questions for Glenn?
Well, I was going to say, when we're talking about, the importance of fans, do you feel like that's going to have quite a big impact on the players? Because obviously, both sets of teams in a competitive game with fans, it is going to be a bit of a difference maker, isn't it?
Well, I think you won't find anyone who's going to put a counter argument to that. We need fans there on Saturday, and we need them to be a bit cliche, but we are 12 man. There'll be times in that game where we do expect to be back to the wall against the side as Fylde, and it's often the fans that can get you through those moments and the next level. So I think it's going to be exciting to have the fans back in.
I think having one or two kind of audio issues there, Glenn. We'll persevere though and just see if it clears itself up. But yeah, fans, it's going to be great. And Dave, from a fan's perspective, as you said earlier, it's going to be great for having that crowd and having everyone back in the stadium, and hopefully that will come across to the players.
Sorry, was that for me?
That was for you, Dave.
Oh, sorry. Pay attention, Dave. Yeah. No, absolutely. The fans will make a great difference. So there's a lot of players in the squad that haven't played in front of fans for a year and a half, and that's going to how's the what? So my question to you, Glenn, would be, what's the morale like in the squad at the moment? Obviously, we've had a lot of try lists play, but they've been the same try list each game, so it feels like that squad's now been together for the better part of 2 months. Although obviously only a few of them have only just been confirmed. But so how are they feeling? I mean, are they confident? Are they feeling strong? Are they feeling hopeful? Are they desperate?
I think I think we monitor our last performance. So, physical point of view, we've just had some of the information back there, the sports science department, if you will. This is the fittest I've seen a guy's side in a long time. I think obviously the against support was a little bit of a setback. I think that to be used as a motivator in order to get action that we need to go into the season. But I think there's been some really positive performance. I think performances against Leeds, Bradford. I think there was a lot of good in those games that Guiseley fans have a lot to about this season. So yeah, I would say them was really good. We still need 2 players, some behind the scenes with that we know about, but I think the squad is in a good place, a very good place, and hopefully you heard all that.
Look, we heard the good bits, the key bits. I think there that the squad is in a very good place, and that's what we want to take out of that. The squad is there. The squad is up for it, raring to go. So that's what we want.
You said that there was still 2 players to go. What areas of the team are you still looking to strengthen?
Well, I think we obviously know defensively we're 1 or 2 players light in the area. So whilst, as has been announced today, we only have 2 backs, recognised centre-backs at club. So that's one area that we need to be doing some business in the up and coming days. As will probably be something to be announced shortly with regard to that. So yeah, it's mainly just defenders at this moment in time. I think there's 1 or 2 announcements for you guys, not in the media. Too much away.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed to have missed out on Messi, Glenn? We offered him chips, right? He had like a free pass to the whaler. Was that not enough?
Kane Felix, Messi, come on, Kane Felix all day.
I'll take Kane.
Yeah, we'll take Kane Felix. So, going forward then, as you say, there's hopefully additions to come in. Long-term ambitions for the season then, is that something that's talked about? Or are Russ and Marcus and the lads kind of assessing the season as it goes rather than necessarily setting the stall out too high or too low at this early stage?
I think that they never put a ceiling on what can and can't be achieved. There's always a level of realism within where our budgets are in comparison to other clubs within the league structure. The goal is always to, whatever it is, if people think, well, can we win top 10 and we want to make top 4, top 5, we want to get have an absolute fit of it. So we pick up the numbers, again, another cliche, but no management really have hypes for this group.
Excellent. That's what we want to hear. That is, as fans, that's what we want to hear. That they want to be challenging and getting in around those playoff spots coming the end of the season. It would be great. I think from a fan's perspective, Tom, perhaps I don't know if we're quite as optimistic as that. I mean, don't get me wrong, a playoff finish would be tremendous, I think, from a fan perspective. But realistically, I'd be happy if we're in and around that chasing pack with 8 or 10 games to go.
Yeah, I think, it's that thing of, on paper, this is a really, it's a good squad and there's a lot of versatility within it. And I was going to ask you, Glenn, in terms of the data, and obviously, you're one of the key people behind that at the club, just how important is that for a team? Because, I think there's some people who kind of, they play FIFA, they just think that, you just turn up on the day, 11 players and that's it. But obviously there is so much work that goes on behind the scenes, isn't there?
Yeah, I think, it's often under wraps and not spoke about too much what goes on. But my role on the tactical and data analysis side is quite in depth. So there's a lot of analysing across 3 or 4 games. This year, we've got a data provider who can give us a lot of the data on our own players, analytics on our own team performance, which we can actually now use in more detail. So we set up team KPIs, which sounds all really boring, but we can actually monitor certain aspects of our performance much more closer than we've ever been able to do before. And I think this is where we might be able to hopefully gain a little bit more of an edge on the competition this year, because we've got some experienced people with knowing how to use that data. So time will tell, but that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be innovative behind the scenes in order to try and find that way of overachieving on what's expected of us this year. Again, hopefully you can hear that because there's a lag from my point of view.
Now, I think that all did come through.
Right, cool.
Dave, any further questions for Glenn?
Glenn, I've got a question actually from Colin, who asks, can you ask about the togetherness of the squad, how they're getting along with each other? It feels like they're a good bunch of people, as well as players. Would you agree with that?
100%. You know, I haven't been to every single training session, but every training session that I have been, I feel as though there's a really good camaraderie. It's like, you don't always like every single player that you work with, every single team that you work with as a football coach. You know, it's always a mixed bag, but I really like the personalities in this group. There's some good young players, there's some good leaders, some good youngsters coming through as well, which you obviously see through pre-season. So I think there's a nice blend and a nice mix in there of personalities. It's a good group of players, a likeable group of players.
It's got to be beneficial, hasn't it? Because quite a few of them now have come through from. There's quite a few academy lads in there, isn't there? Who've come through Dave Curry's academy and into the main team, so they've got that kind of teamwork already.
Yeah, and we've seen 1 or 2 of them really shine. So you know, Ollie has done really well. Brownie, Lewis Hayes, a really good comes and scored as well. So there's been a few of them who have really just had the moments in pre-season, which is really good for them. Great experience for them.
We've got another comment through. I hope you don't mind, Chris. From Guiseley fans who says, "Really wonder what's happening with the goalkeeper situation." Is something that's a question. So obviously we've played Haji Damba and Declan Lampton across the pre-season. We've had a couple of trialists as well. Are you able to give us any insight on where we are with that, Glenn?
It's a complicated situation, actually. The lad that we've had in Jackson, my understanding is, don't quote me on this, but my understanding is that he's got a bit of injury, so he's not available necessarily for this next week in any case. So I think there will again be an announcement probably in the next 24 hours that you guys will get with regards to the situation. I don't know if I can talk on this, but you know, I think there's.
I don't want to get you in trouble, Glenn, or anything.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure what I can and can't say, but there will be some movement on the goalkeeper front, and I'm sure you guys
All
will be able to know.
All I'll say, Glenn, is Chris has his gloves. He's got his gloves, and you know he's going to take up a fair bit of that goal. So
Dave,
just keep him in mind.
Under wrap. We agreed to keep that between me and you that Chris was playing on today. Okay?
Look, nobody needs that.
He'll play for pies.
I will, but I can confirm that. My chips and peas in the Lions Diner in a week, and I'm in. That'll do. It's a fair point, though. And look, kind of the cat was out the bag early. You know, we haven't really touched on the goalkeeper situation before just then, and you know, we know that Luke Jackson, to be fair, was a trialist against Halifax and was named on the team sheet against Stockport. And obviously, going from what Darren Morris said in his Sheffield Wednesday press conference today, it is delayed because of injury, and Tan will tell us to where that goes through. So as you say, just watch this space, really, Lions fans, over the next 24 hours or so, and see what happens. Glenn, we're going to have to leave you for now, but thank you ever so much for coming on and talking to us, and all being well, we'll get you on over the course of the season as well.
It's been a pleasure, fellas. All the best, and hopefully see you there tomorrow.
Absolutely, you will indeed. Cheers, Glenn. Thanks a lot, mate.
Cheers, Glenn.
that's Glen Preston, then first team coach and data analyst, recruitment specialist, the works at Guiseley Football Club. Really interesting. It's going to be a case of watching this space to see what happens over the next 24 hours, goalkeepers wise. The one thing we haven't really touched on actually yet is the announcements made today. Obviously, Ollie Brown, an academy lad signing up, Brad Nicholson as well signing up, and then as we have touched on is Andy Holland's arrival as well, who has looked superb in pre-season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think what's the big thing is when you've got a trialist and you've got people messaging going, who is that trialist? And it wasn't just one or two people. It was, you were getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After each game, there were more and more people going, who's that number 6? Who's that? One comment was, is that Jake Day's brother? And I until he had his haircut, it might have been. I mean, but I think he's done a brilliant job. I think he really has impressed, and I think it's something that he's someone who he fits the mould, that Russ O'Neill's signings like to be. That he's a player who's got that experience the division below, but he's got so much potential. And then, Ollie Brown has had 2 really, really impressive games. The goal line clearances against Halifax Town were fantastic. And then, I felt against Stockport, he put in some, I know at times there were issues for the team, but in terms of the way that he got forward in that game, he defended okay, but the way that he was playing diagonal balls, I was really impressed by, and I'd not seen that from him even in academy games. So that might be something that he's been working on. So, and then Brad Nicholson, a player Russ O'Neill knows really well, 2 years here already. Great to see him signed up because we needed another fullback for tomorrow. And obviously he's been here throughout pre-season. So I think all in all, 3 really positive signings. And then, fingers crossed we'll see some movement on a 4th one maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, Brad Nicholson, his return is... I'm really pleased with that. I'd love to see us get more from... The one thing he has, as well as being an excellent defensive left-back, of course, is long throw as well. And I was talking to Russ about this slightly the other week, and about trying to make the most, really, of the long throw. Not necessarily... it's not going to be throw-in, head, goal. It's not going to be the perfect Rory Delap situation that Stoke used to do, but it's about those second balls and getting players in and around it.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, long throws are great if you can work them. So I'm sure that's not the only reason he's been re-signed. He's a good fullback and he's a decent free kick taker. Actually, I was reminded of the free kick he took against Darlington. Sadly, made no difference to the result, but it was a brilliant free kick. Yes. In the end, and he can deliver a ball into a box, and he runs and he's full of energy, and he will get forward a lot. So he's definitely a good sign.
He fits the bill as well, I think, of a Russ and Marcus signing that. He's still you'll probably be able to correct me on this one, Tom. I think he's 22, maybe, give or take. He's still young.
Give or take. There's plenty of potential there, and I think as well when he was at Handsworth, he was one of those players in the NCL where you could see there was more to his game. You could see that he would be able to make the step up, and I think it's something that he's of that age where he's young. He's obviously highly rated. But he's played National League North for a few seasons. He's got that behind him. And this really could be a big campaign for him to kick on and, hopefully, put in some really good performances for Guiseley and, move us up that table and, see where we land.
Absolutely. Let's move away then from talking about the new arrivals at Nethermoor. And this is a rather sad link, and bring in our outgoing physio, Ash Proctor. Ash, thanks for joining us here on the Lions Roar, mate.
No worries. Good evening.
Firstly, congratulations, of course, on your new role. It's just a shame it means that you're going to have to be leaving Nethermoor and the club for Saturdays.
Yeah, it's a strange one, really. I mean, the jobs didn't come up at the ideal time with regards to, obviously, my last game is our first game of the season, but that's just the way it's fallen. It's been a bit of a weird one. Trying to prep for a new role while still obviously working my notice at Guiseley and giving it my all. But yeah, it's a little bit bittersweet really, because as you know, you become slightly attached to the club, especially when I've been here for 3+ seasons, seeing the similar faces, and I'll certainly miss that buzz on a Saturday, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you joined us what, January of 2018 there or thereabouts?
Yeah, give or take. Yeah, not an ideal time, but yeah, that's
Well,
when
you picked a good time to join, didn't you? After the previous season we've had.
Yeah, I mean, first game of the season was away at Eastleigh, and I think we lost 4-2. And I can't remember exactly, but we didn't pick many points up for about the first 6, 7, 8 games, and it was just every game we just seemed to either lose or draw. And then, like you touched on earlier, my first actual win as a therapist was that Fylde game, which you touched on earlier, actually, with Sean St. Ledger. And I remember that at the time, it felt like we'd won a cup final. Bear in mind, I think we were second bottom at the time, or maybe even bottom, but obviously Fylde were going pretty well at the top, or second or third. And I remember they didn't like losing at all, really, and they came up with excuses about the sloping pitch at the end. And yeah, I remember it quite vividly. But yeah, good times.
Yeah, the first Nethermoor slope, 45 degrees, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, let's be fair, as from a fan's perspective and from the lads in the media team, we often joke about how unlucky we are as a club with injuries. You'll have had to have dealt with so much over the last 3.5 years.
Yeah, pretty much everything. Touch wood, I've not had anything too significant in terms of any serious kind of fractures or anything like that. Had a couple of fractured jaws and the odd ACL and concussions, but I've never had anything too kind of I need to manage this ASAP, or basically it's going to hit the fan kind of thing. So yeah, I've been quite fortunate from that point of view. But yeah, I've certainly been exposed to a lot of injuries from most things really in my time at the club.
Ash, can I ask a question? Can I ask you what did COVID mean for you for that shutdown time? I mean, it must have been quite a challenge.
Yeah, COVID was a strange one. I remember going to the last game was away at Guiseley, wasn't it, where we just came up with a fabulous result and beat them. And I remember being on the coach, and I think someone joked about, that'll be it now for 12 months. And I don't think at the time I thought, what they're on about, we're back on Saturday. And then obviously that happened. And it was a strange one really, because with my line of work as well, obviously I couldn't really work, wasn't insured to anyway with the whole COVID pandemic. Thankfully furlough came along, so I benefited from that. And at the start of it, I actually picked up some work in Marks and Spencer's warehouse packing pallets down in Bradford for about 3 to 4 months. So I think for the same as everybody, it was just about keeping busy, because I'm the kind of person where I hate to do nothing. If I'm doing nothing, then to me it's a wasted day. I need to be busy and on the go. And yeah, so when football finally came back, as same as everybody like you guys, it was such a relief really.
How did you manage when it did come back for a brief period last season? You know, how did you get back into the swing of things? How did you manage the squad at that point?
Yeah, it was challenging. The one thing that I did notice was when we went into pre-season, bear in mind the lads don't quote me on the exact time they'd had off, but they'd had off a good maybe 7-8 months off. So in terms of deconditioning and as it is naturally occurs, you can do as many kind of home gym sessions. There was that peak in injuries in those first few weeks in pre-season that time round, which was a bit of a challenge. It was to the stage where at one point I think there was about 6 players that had just broken down in pre-season, which you can pretty much attribute down to the whole COVID lockdown, sitting at home, not being able to get out of the house. So that was really challenging at the time, managing that. But touch wood, this time round that's not been the case. Russ and Marcus have been really proactive about that. In that, I think they've mentioned it before, we actually trained. We've actually been in training now for a good, I think it's about 10 weeks or so. So we actually came back once or twice a week before most teams had even gone into pre-season. Just getting the lads on the ball, getting them accustomed to a little bit of fitness, nothing too intense. And I honestly think that's helped keep the injuries down, which has been really, really beneficial. But that just taps into the whole Glen with the whole sports science aspect of it and player monitoring. As a multidisciplinary team, it works really well in those circumstances.
Ash, during your time at Guiseley, are there any moments that really stand out for you? Any results where you were kind of there with management team thinking afterwards, so glad to be a part of it?
Yeah, well, the main one obviously springs to mind, the the win against Cambridge in the FA Cup, I'll always look fondly back on that. I've still got it recorded actually on my Skybox. I recorded that one, and there's a whole camera's been there, and everything about that was surreal. It's just a shame we got knocked out the next round, but yeah, that's the first one that clearly springs to mind. I think especially given the circumstances that we were 4-0 up and conceding 3 goals in about 20 minutes, and then knife on an edge, squeaky bum time at the end. And I remember their player had a one-on-one glorious chance, and I think it was the 91st minute or something. And thankfully, he skied it and fluffed his lines. But yeah, that was a real adrenaline one, that one. And then any wins really enjoyable, especially the away wins when you got the journey back. But again, if I was to pick on one that wasn't that game, it would be York away the season before last, when Kane scored the winner in the last minute. That was just excellent at the time. It was my birthday weekend as well. I've got weekend there with my missus, and yeah, it couldn't have been any better that when that went in, and just the whole atmosphere afterwards was great. Yeah.
So you're moving on to, is it the University of Leeds now? You're going to be Professor Proctor.
Yeah, well, it's Leeds Trinity University.
Hey.
Down the road from. I've got no excuses not to come down. It's only down the road from Guiseley, isn't it? And actually, Dave and the academy lads are actually will be training there anyway twice a week, so it gives me a chance to stay.
Students there as well, don't they, Tom? Yeah.
Brilliant university. Highly recommend it.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're chatting to 2 of the Leeds Trinity alumni. I mean, I'm not saying we've got very far, but you know.
Yeah, no, it looks a good university. It's local to Guiseley, so it gives me no excuses not to be involved. And yeah, I'm looking forward to starting my new role, but it is a little bit bittersweet. I'm gonna have to find something to do on a weekend, really.
Yeah,
we'll probably be watching Guiseley anyway. I'll certainly be, if I'm not too busy with work, I'll certainly be down probably once or twice a month for sure.
I was going to say, it won't be long before we'll be getting you on Guiseley Radio as a co-commentator at some point.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, being on the other side.
Don't punish him. He doesn't deserve that.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, it's it's a big role, to be fair, that you go into. It must be a really exciting challenge, though. But I mean, how old are you again? You're what, 26?
I'm 26, so I'm 27 in December. So yeah, it just seems the right time. I'm engaged at the moment. I've just booked a wedding. I'm looking to save for a house. And in terms of the opportunity, I just couldn't turn it down. It's just one of them where I reflected on it a little bit, and it was quite a tough choice to make, but I just had to go for it, really. So yeah.
Hey, you're on a lecturer's wage now. You're on a lecturer's wage. What are you worried about? Those guys, they get paid loads. You can afford a season ticket. Come on.
Well, certainly, yeah.
No, we obviously wish you all the best for the future, mate. It's been great seeing you around the place over the last 3.5 seasons, and we all wish you the very best for the future, mate.
Yeah, thank you. It's just one of them. I mean, when you're involved with the club for so long, you become almost part of the furniture to an extent, and you create friendships with fans and everybody from, let's say, the tea lady or Rachel or Sue and Bruce, and I can pick loads of names out that I've become really close to through the years. So yeah, it's a lot more than just being the club sports therapist. You do build those bonds and relationships, which is good.
Yeah, it's some of it's kind of been around the club now for about 11 years or so. It's certainly a club that gets under the skin, whether that's for better or worse as the years have panned out.
Yeah, well, hopefully better this season.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll have a good season.
Yes, fingers crossed. Finally, though, before we let you go, Ash, of course, if you're a Morecambe fan for your sins, how are they going to do in League One this season?
Yeah, I am. I try and keep that quiet around Guiseley because it's not something to really shout about. Yeah, hometown's Morecambe. I've watched Morecambe since I was small, so it's just one of them. Again, it gets under your skin when it's your hometown, especially. So, but yeah, went to Ipswich away, got a great point, nearly took 3. Went to Blackburn on Tuesday night. I think they played pretty much a first team from what I've heard, and beat them 2-1. So yeah, Shrewsbury at home on Saturday. So hopefully we can make it first win of the season. Yeah, and with guys winning as well, it'll be perfect. Fingers crossed.
That would be the ideal weekend. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Ash. We will of course see you at Nethermoor tomorrow. But yeah, as I said, all the best for the future, mate.
Yeah, no problem. You too.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. That's Ash Proctor, then the departing head physio. But as I say, going on to pastures, we all from Guiseley Radio wish him the very best for the future. Lads, we'll kind of wrap it up in the next minute or two, really. Come back to tomorrow then. After doing this, I'll be honest, I am more excited now than I was, 36 minutes ago for the game tomorrow.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great to be back in front of a crowd, to be back with all the regulars. Well, hopefully all the regulars are there, and just get back to that level of normality. And with a bit of luck, 3 points would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Tom?
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit more optimistic. I think it's going to be a tough game, and we know it is. But I think what we've got is a real opportunity to put a marker down, like we did, a couple of years ago against Kingsley Town. You put that marker down, you build that momentum, and then, hopefully we can get a good win. And it'll be a very nice way to start the season if we can do that.
We've been asked on the chat room our predicted starting 11.
I was gonna come to that.
Just about to go to that. Yeah.
Great minds, Dave. Great minds. It's a fair point. So, I mean, predicted starting 11, goalkeeper wise. So,
goalkeeper Chris Bell.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm ready for that. We'll find out the goalkeeper, I think, in due course. Basically, it depends on what happens. Or failing that, you're looking at Declan or Hadji. Yeah, you should work that out. Tom might be a little bit small. Tom, what we reckoning across the back four? For me, I reckon it'll be Nicholson, Hamza, and Hollins, and then off the form of pre-season recently, I think Ollie Brown will be the right back for me for tomorrow. Yeah,
I think it's one of those that the centre backs obviously pick themselves, like they are the options, so they're there. Nicholson obviously kind of picks himself for signing that deal, and the last few games. But I think Ollie Brown, he's done. It isn't just one of those where we're putting him there for it. He's earned it. He's put in some really good performances, and again, with the way Russ and Marcus work with young players, there is a clear pathway for academy players. There is a chance within the first team setup, so that would put a real marker down for him as well. What a boost that'll be to think we're playing one of the favourites for promotion. There you are, you're starting. So yeah, I think that'd be my back four as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Into midfield then. And I think if I was in their position tomorrow, I would probably go a little bit more. We've seen 4-4-2 quite a bit in pre-season, but I think I would be more inclined to go 4-3-3, 4-5-1, depending on which way you look at it. But just try and pack that midfield because, as you mentioned earlier on, Tom, it's going to be a really difficult midfield that Fylde put out. I think if we had the three centre mids of Ekpolo, Spencer, and Cantrell, though, it's a really solid midfield three. And then a few
feisty midfield, isn't it?
It is.
Put the wind up on a bit.
It's got bite in it, and it's probably got bookings in it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but they're not reckless. Yeah, they're going to pick up yellows, those three, but they're not reckless at all. They're actually quite. They've got a lot of game management nous. I can't use words, but they don't just go hiking in randomly. They pick their targets. They're very clever.
Yeah, Tom, what do you think midfield wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think them three in midfield would, they'd put up a real battle against Fylde. What I will say, I think Prince Ekpolo, he's the player that I look at, and I think he is going to be such a key part of this midfield this season because, he came in obviously halfway through the one before, did really well. Obviously last season it was a weird one, but this campaign to me, he is that Makalele, that Kante role that when he isn't on the pitch, he didn't play the first 45 minutes against Everton's under-21s. And when he came on that second half, he didn't give them a kick. I mean, he really dominated that midfield for 45 minutes. And to me, he could be, there was a player here at Guiseley a few years ago that I started a fan club for almost. He was great. I think Ekpolo, with a few good performances, I could be the first member of that fan club.
He is a tremendous player for me.
Are you moving on from Alex Perver, Tom?
He is.
I'm trying my best. Now he's joined a rival.
So proud.
I think you're right, though. For me, Ekpolo he's a bit of a Rolls Royce in that midfield. He just picks up the ball. He doesn't give the ball away. He will move it sideways and backwards if we have to. And how many years have we travelled up and down the country and bemoaned not replacing Danny Boschel until Prince Ekpolo came along and was that man that would win the ball back, or if he couldn't find that forward pass, we'll just retain possession, not give it away needlessly and keep it moving. And for me, I love the fact that he's part of Russ's non-league nuggets. The fact that he's been put from Glossop North End at the age of 26, 27 when we signed him, and has just slotted in at this level of football seamlessly. Going forward, then the attack for tomorrow's game. What would you two go with? Start with Dave. What would you go with up front?
Fewless Day, Felix.
Tom?
That's the obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say that is the obvious one. I think, to me, the one thing I would say is I'd definitely have Thompson on the bench and tell him that you are, probably going to get 20 minutes, half an hour, because I think if it is still 0-0 with, half an hour, 20 to go, Bailey Thompson, to me, he's got a goal in him, he's got pace in him, and he could really make a big difference in that if he doesn't start.
Yeah, I've just seen that. Get the Guiseley fans YouTube. How can you miss out Andy Kelly? He says the problem with Andy Kelly at the moment is we just don't know where he's at fitness wise. All we know before Stockport last Saturday, he was out doing some kind of light jogging during the warm up, and that was it. So I can't really say for certain one way or the other whether can be included for contention or not. So that for me is how I can miss out Andy Kelly up front. I completely agree. I think you're looking at. I think Fewless and Felix, either side of Day or Thompson, is a really exciting front three. To have that physical presence through the middle and those two playing off it is options that we haven't had really for a good couple of years or so.
Right. What's the score? What's the score tomorrow? Go on, neck on the line.
The big question. Right, Tom, let's start with you.
Well, the problem is, whenever I'm optimistic, we get hammered.
Yeah, no.
The last time I was genuinely optimistic,
a score line, Tom. Come on.
Right. What? Right. 1-0. 1-0 Guiseley. Kane Felix, 93rd minute.
Oh,
I'd love that the most. I'd love that the most.
That would be the most amazing outcome. To be honest, I'm going to be a little bit more level-headed, and I will take a really positive 1-1 draw.
Boo!
I will stick. Dave's on the beer, isn't it? I will stick with the 93rd minute equaliser though for that moment of joy. But yeah, honestly, I think it's going to be a really tough game. Fylde are going to be up there. I would take a solid point. Dave?
I'm going 5-0, Felix hat-trick, and our mystery goalkeeper scores from a free kick. That's happening. Put a tenner on it. Don't put a tenner on it. But 5-0, it's going to happen.
Elsewhere, the inverted fullback says 1-0 Guiseley. He's going with you there, Tom. Sam's blog says 2-0 Guiseley. And the Guiseley fans YouTube, 5-4 Guiseley.
That would be amazing.
What a return to Nethermoor for competitive football.
My blood pressure would never stand it, but I would love it.
Hey, Dave, it's all right. You're home alone this weekend. If we win 5-4 after that, you're out all night.
I haven't even got the cat to come home and kick, have I? If we don't win.
Hey, if we win 5-4, you're staying out for the night, mate. And finally, Caden 2-1. So all positive results so far. Even mine was a positive result. Let's be fair.
No, it wasn't. 1-1. Rubbish.
Look, I'm just trying to be.
Even Tom suggested we'll win. Even Tom, and Tom's the most paranoid human I've ever met.
I mean, the big question really, Dave, is you need to text Colin and find out what Colin thinks, because he's usually the pessimistic one. So if Colin's going for a win, then we are doomed.
Oh, Colin will think we've already lost 3-0 or something, and that's okay. I worry if he's positive. I can't stand him being positive. I feel safer if he's not.
I feel like we might have picked up a Fylde fan here, because Fletch says 3-1 Fylde. That can't be.
All the best to you, Fletch. All the best to you.
Well, there we go. We've overrun a little bit, but that wraps up our second episode of the Lions Roar podcast. Thank you for joining us and for getting your comments in on tonight's show as well. Big thank you to Glen Preston and to Ash Proctor for joining us earlier on as well to talk through the stories, the situation, where we're at for the coming season. Tom, Dave, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you very much. Come on, you Lions. 5-0.
See each other tomorrow. And we are very excited about being back at Nethermoor Park tomorrow. If you can, get a good night's sleep. If you're too excited, embrace it. Stay up and have a couple of beers to calm the nerves. That's all it'll take, yeah?
I'll be using Brentford versus Arsenal as my sleeping pill.
To be fair, that did remind me actually of one other thing that I was supposed to mention whilst we were on here. There is a Guiseley Fans Fantasy Football League. If you bear with me for 2 seconds and go on to the Fantasy Premier League app. Where is it? Nick, it was Adam that reminded me of this one, because I think Adam Bridson set it up years ago and I've just constantly auto-renewed into that. So the code for it is BYM0I1. BYM0I1. If you didn't catch that, you can rewatch this and just replay that last couple of seconds and you'll be able to find it there. Join the Fantasy Football League and pitch your wits against other Guiseley fans on that. Right, I think we're done.
We're done.
I think it's time for a beer.
I've run out of beer. Come on, let's go.
Time for another one. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone, for your comments and views. From us at the Lions Roar podcast, we will see you next time. Good night.